Hello? Hello? Please, I know you can hear us. We are trapped here in the spaces between worlds. It is a wonderful yet terrifying place, and only our voices escape. You can help us. You can let us in before we go mad.
Sometimes I Wish I Were Dead by Steve T. The early morning started with a shriek that woke the whole camp better than any rooster's crow could ever do. Hadn't done up the outer defenses quite good enough, and now Marion Crane had a chunk the size of a baseball dangling by a gnarly web of stretched and torn skin from the meatier part of her forearm. "They're coming to get you, Barbara." We'd figured that if we put enough pavement, gravel, and pretty soon dirt between us and them, we'd be hunky-dory, happy-slappy, but nope. Damn things were inexhaustible. And last night was the closest any of us had come to getting a full night's beauty rest. Boy, was it starting to show. Even now, Marion was becoming harder to tell apart from the rotting corpses that were currently showering in the dwindling sputter of her blood. I did the merciful thing and gave her the old 45 lobotomy. She'd still be up and squirming in a few, but at least she wouldn't have to think about it. My arms rippled with chicken skin, and I shuddered, hoping that my bullet had nicked the part of her brain that controls speech. I hated when they could talk. All you ever do is talk. Had enough demons rattling around inside my skull already. Didn't need to hear more. Do they ever let you go? The dead got Tracy and old man Wendell. Women and children and old farts first. But the rest of us hopped to and skedaddled. Wasn't difficult. Most of the deadites. "All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up!" Were pretty weak and slow. Kicker of it wasn't their strength or speed. It was their damned adamant refusal to stay dead. My generation's. Talking about my generation. Movies and media had usually given zombies a sci-fi bent. Disease, toxic substances, atom bomb, duck and cover were always the source. All you gotta do is whop 'em, bop 'em, or pop 'em in the head, and boom, they're dead. Not our zombies. Our zombies were different. I remember how it started, about as bizarrely as you'd expect. About the same day I ran out of my meds. Never did get that prescription filled. I want a new drug. One day we're living our lives, working for the man, drinking beer and hunting deer. The next day, the local cemetery is turning off the red no on its vacancy sign. Good thing cremation is cheap, else we'd be up to our necks in dead relatives. That was the worst part. Every one of them, from the skeletal remnants held together by human jerky and a dream, to the cadavers with that fresh out of the mortuary look, met at the graveyard gates, then went their separate ways. Straight to their, as of yet still living progeny. Fortunately, anyone related to me had either been barbecued and shoved in an urn or were buried 6 feet under and 3 states away. A lot of people just lost their minds at the sights and sounds of their ancestors coming for a visit. The boys are back in town, spread the word around. The rest were none the better. Have the lambs stopped screaming, Clarice? Bon appetit. Eat or die. Usums that were smart enough not to trust a decaying corpse or mad enough already lived to fight another day. And we learned. Our zombies were paranatural and supernormal. Shooting 'em in the head just didn't cut the maggot-riddled mustard. Did seem to shut 'em up, though. I don't shut up, I grow up, and when I look at you, I throw up. The logical next step was full-body nuggetization. My first one was the buxom young girl next door. Well, technically 2 doors down, but you get the picture. Fine specimen. At least before she came stumbling after me full frontal with smurf skin, a crust of Campbell's chunky dried to her chin, and a clustering of swollen red needle tracks between every joint in her body. Dare to resist drugs and violence. Well, drugs at least. Darren the lion would have to forgive me for the violence.
Rudy, screw me till my eyes cross, Rudy. I know you want to. I've seen the way you look at me,
she had said. As it was, one of her eyes was already hanging lazy and pointing comically far to the left. I remedied both situations with a hot load of frontier justice, courtesy of Samuel Colt. God created man, but Sam Colt made them equal. One swipe from my machete took out both her legs. Whetstone coming in clutch. Thump. Is she down for the count? Hardly. I want to be where the people are. I want to see 'em dancing. No legs for our mermaid, and I'd already taken her voice. And no clamshell bikini top either, for that matter. I had to give her arms a good whack to stop the torso. But that's all it stopped. Her dismembered members kept on kicking and crawling. One more try, and all I managed to do was birth thing. They're creepy and they're kooky, mysterious and spooky. Didn't take long to figure out the final solution. Had to give 'em the old Freddy Krueger makeover and hope they didn't hunt you in your dreams. I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy. Simple, right? Douse 'em in gasoline, light up a cigar, and drop the match. I love it when a plan comes together. Oops. Didn't plan for the dozen or so hungry blathermouths shuffling over for a quick bite. Tasty freeze is that-a-way, ladies and gents. You kiss your mother with that mouth? Everybody still possessed of a pulse quickly figured out that we had to get the hell out of Dodge. I grabbed myself a rucksack full of 45 ACP, bunch o' canned victuals, and other random junk like AA's, couple flashlights, a length of rope, and a casually scrunched up hammock. Last I snagged a jerry can full to the brim with kerosene. Sack on the back, machete on the left hip, and 1911 holstered on the right. I felt a little like Rambo. Everything stacked on my person, I started to huff louder than the late Obesity Jane on her way to pick up the disability check. I'm sorry that I got fat. I will slim down. Rock over London, rock on Chicago. Wheaties, breakfast of champions. Goodbye, Blue Monday. Met up with old man Wendell by chance on the way out of good old Cali, gateway to Glacier National Park. He was too glad to see someone who wasn't one of his dead kids to worry much about my reputation. Our group grew like a snowball rolling downhill. Frosty the Snowman is a fairy tale, they say. Tracy, Marion, Christopher, Tom, Billy. Bunch of white folks like me with generic names to match the lack of melanin. A rat done bit my sister Nell, with Whitey on the moon. Only black guy that joined up told us to call him T. This is worse than your song about Mr. T. I pity the fool that doesn't like he. T did give a damn about my reputation. I've never been afraid of any deviation, and I don't really care if you think I'm strange. He seemed to remember rather well about my little fits and fiddles. Optioned for walking behind me at all times with his funny-colored Mauser hunting rifle pasting crosshairs on my back. "Give me 3 steps, mister." T had probably been right to do so. This kettle is boiling over. I think I'm a banana tree. A little whisper between my ears told me to plant a big old wet one on those ever so luscious afro lips. "Brown sugar? How come you taste so good?" "Ground control to Major Tom. Your circuit's dead. There's something wrong." Ashes to ashes, funk to funky. I was no junkie. Didn't need the meds. Didn't want 'em. Didn't plan a smacker on that tire tube sitting in a nest of curly-Q anyway. AIDS is a white man's disease. Famous last words. I'm on the run, no time to sleep. I've got to ride like the wind, further into the heart of darkness, into pines, where the sun don't ever shine. Found a good spot off the well-beaten path to pitch our tents. Is that a gun in your pocket, or are you just glad to see me? Christopher ran a spool of thinly braided steel wire to erect a makeshift fence around our camp, pulling tightly enough to make the trees bleed. Round and round she goes. Will she stop the dead? No. Big money, no whammy. With love, we'll find a way, just give it time. He's stretched for the good of all mankind. Stop, evildoers! I pulled my hammock between the trees and tied it off tighter than Dick's hatband. From Cap Toys. Who else? Somebody's watching me, and I have no privacy. T had slumped against a big cropping of shale as I climbed into my little mesh cocoon. I am the eye in the sky. Looking at you, I can read your mind. He couldn't do it. 30-06 be as harsh a mistress as the moon, but not big enough to stop me from going all Mick-Mac Gage. I don't want to be buried in a pet cemetery. Nighty-night, T. Don't let the swarms of mosquitoes bite. There's a skeeter on my Peter. Whack it off. I was the one that ended up getting head from the 1,000 or so whiny little buggers. Right through the thin mesh of my hammock. Draw an X with your fingernail. Guess they didn't like dark meat. Through this flesh, which is us, we are you and you are us. I had been too dog-tired to care. It's been a hard day's night. Oh, this is heavy, Doc. I mean, it's like I was just here yesterday. All my troubles seem so far away. Screams Marion Crane in the shower, run to the hills. You get the picture. Tracy and old man Wendell, too. He's dead, Jim. He's alive again, Jim. Back in the saddle again. Tom, Christopher, T, and I managed to keep together. Somebody gotta do it. Pimpin' ain't easy. Billy beat it in the opposite direction. People always told me, be careful what you do. When we left our worm food pursuers in the dust, those Duke boys are at it again. T and Tom told me to make like a banana and split. It's a cruel, cruel summer, leaving me here on my own. Don't come around here no more. They explicitly, implicitly, and tacitly expressed disdain at my Kevorkianing of Marion. Chris was the only one to think it's a shame, but shame is a feeble fellow when it comes to survival. The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. We went our separate ways. What night will remind you? I swear T sighed in a agitated breath of relief. Finally, his arms could take a break from constantly training his rifle on my tender vitals. Drop your cocks and grab your socks. Con! I was abandoned to fend for mine own. Here I go again. It's that rat circus out there. I'm beginning to enjoy it. At least, I wanted to. But really, I wanted people again. It helps to drown out the voices inside when there are voices outside. Living people voices, that is. I hear dead people. There's emptiness behind their eyes. There's dust in all their hearts. T made his grand entry into my rinky-dink operation 2 days later.
Matthew? Matthew?
That brown sound, she sure do get around. How's about that kiss, Rudy? Sorry I left without giving you your goodbye smooch, said T. One last kiss for old time's sake. His body and clothing were shredded in ragged, blood-stained quintuplets. Grisly. Getting run up a tree by a bear was part of the adventure and the fun of Glacier Park. Let's get down to business to defeat the Huns. T was no Shan Yu, but there'd be plenty of fireworks. Einstein, James Dean, Brooklyn's got a winning team. One American-made dosa led to the dome, coming right up. The projectile bifurcated a lock of his dreads. I shot the sheriff, but I swear it was in self-defense. Wrapped his arms and legs with the length of my loose rope. If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. T wiggled, wriggled, and undulated like a defiant mud skipper out of water. Even I, Lucas, have heard the legend of a man-fish. I doused him in kerosene. Somebody in this camp ain't what he appears to be. How can we dance when our earth is turning? The time has come to say fair's fair. It was roundabouts this time that I realized my handgun brain surgery had been less than successful. The words will make you out and out. I'll behave. Yes'm, boss, I'll behave. Unruly slaves is just looking for a whipping, massa. I wiped my hands on my pants to try and remove the flammables. Liar, liar, pants on fire. I struck a match and dropped it at his feet. Black skin charred to slightly blacker. Tea crumbled to dust in the wind. All we are. Rudy's crematorium. You kill it, we grill it. Something or someone told me to try for the water. Wild Horse Island. What was it this time? Sea monsters or ghost ships? Meh, it was as good a plan as any. Only way to know if it held water was to try and to hope that Big Daddy wouldn't blow me to smithereens via propane boom, 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 boom. Gonna shoot you right down. It was a long ways out of the way, but I would walk 500 miles, and I would walk 500 more. I was running low on foodstuff anyway. In a big country, dreams stay with you. We're the dream warriors. Maybe tonight they'll be gone. No such luck. Found Billy. She's not my lover. Billy didn't even get the chance to mouth off. Number 1 with a bullet. 5 bullets, actually. 1 for each limb in her head. Had a fire starter the shop. Petroleum and uranium. War never changes. Stopped her advances good enough as is. Or slowed them to the point where she couldn't keep up. I found a fully gassed up Harley. Live to ride, ride to live. I'm a cowboy. On a steel horse I ride. An hour and I was in Columbia Falls. Remember when the tooth fairy comes, don't peek. Stopped by the Smiths for food and antibiotics. I'd been through more courses of penicillin than the prize hooker of the whorehouse just outside Vegas city limits.
Roxanne, you don't have to put on the red light.
It was the only way to avoid infection by the scratches, bites, and otherwise. Any corpse-bound disease, anyway. You can't start a fire without a spark. Chemistry followed in the wake of physics, but biology, The retarded child lagged far behind. Roof access was through a little maintenance closet. Up, and away. And when it's time to get busy, you know what you gotta do. Don't know if the zombs can climb, but they definitely won't be able to lift 260 pounds of sleeping Rudy off the hatch. Come on in, pussy lovers. Here at the Titty Twister, we're slashing pussy in half. Day gave way to the hazy red glow of dusk. With darkness came rain. My life is pretty plain. I like watching the puddles gather rain. And a couple of familiar deadheads. Truckin' got my chips cashed in. I had been mostly asleep when I heard the scuffle of feet over roof tar and grit. If there's a bustle in your hedgerow, don't be alarmed now. It's just as spring clean for the May Queen. Not exactly clean. Old man Wendell's heart exited the back of his rib cage, and you're to blame. And the force of it tumbled him backward over the low wall at the edge of the roof. And I never exercised a day in my life. Every morning I wake up and I smoke a cigarette, and then I eat 5 strips of bacon, and for lunch I eat a bacon sandwich, and for a midday snack, asphalt. He caught the ladder they'd placed too, and a whole trio of putrescent cadavers tottered and fell like a Three Stooges gag. Oh, a wise guy, eh? Yuck, yuck, yuck. Bad news, bears. They could use tools now. That's right, bub. Say hello to your Aunt Alicia. Say, hello, Aunt Alicia. Rudy, you whore's bastard, I heard the old man shout from the ground. What? Your mother too busy getting around town to teach you to respect your elders? Nobody even knows who your real father is. Hell, could even be me, Rudy. Never cared for what they say. Never cared for games they play. I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum. I holstered my shooter and waited for the count of 3. Tracy was nearly on me. I'm your huckleberry. It's dark and hell is hot. 3 holes appeared. Abracadabra, I'm gonna reach out and grab ya. For my next trick, I will get bitten on the wrist. Tracy had been, and still was, the stockier sort of gal. The kind with a bit too much blubber on the haunches. Come on, Willie. You only have to do it just once. Solana young Aesis. The chunkier, but not quite morbidly overweight kind of gal you'd always been sort of embarrassed to admit an attraction to. Fatty 2x4 can't fit through the bathroom door. They make the rockin' world go round. Old man Wendell had been a feather. Tracy, however, ate the bullets like a champ. Mr. Owl, how many licks does it take to get to the Tootsie Roll center of a Tootsie Pop? Let's find out. 1, 2, 3. Chomp. 3. I blasted her, clamped and lazily chewing jaw off of my hand. Take your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape. Gunpowder burns charred the borderline. Feels like I'm going to lose my mind. Of the missing skin, bright pink wound on my wrist and pinky side palm. 'Tis but a scratch. I've had worse. And what about you? Do you find it risible when I say the name Biggus? Dickus? And now for something completely different. Boff, bonk, pow! Holy sardine! Hand me down the shark repellent bat spray! You're gonna need a bigger boat. Tracy overboard. Kicked her right over the edge onto old man Wendell. Hi, Mom. My name's Joe. A falsetto child? Nah, he thinks he's Pee Wee Herman. That's my name, don't wear it out. I made sure the rest were done with their midnight mischief. Don't ever feed 'em after midnight. I started yet another course of antibiotics. I ain't got a fever, I got a permanent disease. It'll take more than a doctor to prescribe a remedy. This is serious, serious. We could make you delirious, delirious. You should have a healthy fear of us, fear of us. Too much of us is dangerous. Hard to sleep when you know the dead still have a good head on their shoulders. No, no, sleep, sleep till Brooklyn. Brooklyn! Running down the avenue, see how the sun shines brightly in the city, all the streets where once was pity. Together, we will go our way. Together, we will leave someday. Together, your hand in my hand. Together, we will make the plans. Not west, but south toward the land given to the Salish and Kootenai under the Treaty of Hellgate. That's right, Kemo-sabe, you trusty scout. You don't pull the mask off that old Lone Ranger, and you don't mess around with Jim. Badder than old King Kong, and meaner than a junkyard dog. First you take our land, then you knock our skills. Met an Injun down Dayton way. Didn't have an Injun name. Was named Jack. Here's Johnny. Picked up exactly what I was laying down. Can you dig it? Both the horses and my little quirks. We got a canoe and headed for the island. Row, row, row your boat. Never get out of the boat. Absolutely goddamn right. Unless you were going all the way. Kurtz got off the boat. He split from the whole fucking program. Wild Horse Island, protected as a park since 1977. Tonight's the night. Gonna be all right. We are sailing. We are sailing. Home again across the sea. Well, a short distance of lake at the least. Land ho! I failed to find the horses. I have been mortal, and some part of me is mortal yet. I'm full of tears and hunger and the fear of death. Although I cannot weep, and I want nothing, and I cannot die, I am not like the others now. For no unicorn was ever born who could regret. But I do. I regret. A little whisper in my head told me to do Jack in. Mama, just killed a man. Put a gun against his head. Pulled the trigger, now he's dead. And now he's alive again. You're a perfect devil, Lestat. That's what you are. You are the devil himself. Do I look like someone who cares about what God thinks? I vivisected Jack via machete until even the pieces couldn't cobble together enough movement to get a crack at me. How do you sleep? How do you sleep at night? Slept like a baby. My mama loves me. She loves me. She get down on her knees and hug me. Turns out the dead take to water like a trout. My ma had sprung from her vault 3 states over. Remember the babies? They found a place to put them. Now they're growing up and they want to come home. There's nothing cute about them. They've come a long way and they're hungry. Want some candy, kid? Oh, no thanks. It rots my ears. Take a flying leap, Buster. Put on your radar, Corny. Avoid unidentified beings. She was my mom, but she wasn't. Stranger danger. She looked like a grisly, misshapen doppelganger of the woman I had once called Ma. Why you asking me if I've seen some shit like this before? Do I look like I've seen some shit like this before? Hell no, I ain't never seen no shit like this before. You can't tell me what to do. You ain't my mother. Rudy. Dear Rudy. Rest now, Rudy. Mama knows best, said the masquerading lady. Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies. I took the intimate route of a machete to the decrepit arms and legs. Still planning on making a home here? Nah, not if I can't get the Knicks game. Remember that time I walked into your room, Rudy? Said dear old Ma. I knew what was happening. I knew you were jacking off. Have you gone blind yet, Rudy? Got a bad case of the hairy palms. When I think about you, I touch myself. She bop, he bop, we bop, I'm turning Japanese. Through boiling clouds of thunder, blasting bolts of steel, evils going under deadly wheels. I put a point-blank .45 in her dome. 2 men enter, 1 man leaves. The voices were getting louder, whispering as quietly as banshee shrieks. Madness takes its toll. But listen closely. Not for very much longer. I've got to keep control. A reality is just what we tell each other. Sane and insane could easily switch places if the insane were to become the majority. You would find yourself locked in a padded cell, wondering what happened to the world. Mental wounds not healing, life's a bitter shame. My ma was in wiggly pieces on the grass. Keep off the grass. Like all too many of his contemporaries, Tom is experimenting with something he knows little about which too little is known. Last dance with Mary Jane. They like flowers and music and white girls named Debbie too. Congealed chunks of dark formaldehyde-smelling blood. Good night, dear mother. Hope the bedbugs bite and Satan takes your soul tonight. It was too much. I'm gonna rock down to Electric Avenue. You make me promises. Opted for trying to blow Tyler Durden out of my skull instead. The first rule of Fight Club is, you don't talk about Fight Club. I tasted gun oil. War isn't hell. War is war, and hell is hell. And of the two, war is a lot worse. Is that what I'm supposed to tell your mother when she gets another folded American flag? Mama always said dying was a part of life. Would you know my name if I saw you in heaven? Would it be the same? Prepare yourself. You know it's a must. Gotta have a friend in Jesus. I didn't have a friend in Jesus, and heaven was a vain hope in juxtaposition to the life I'd lived, to the demons that paid rent in my head and possessed the dead. Let's spend the night together, from now until forever. See the luck I've had can make a good man turn bad. I placed the vice around my head. Maybe I am human after all, I thought, closing my iron fist. Maybe somewhere down the road a ways, at the end of the line, you'll think of me, wonder where I am these days, at the end of the line. Steve doesn't